Hi, this is Heidi. Episode 1, The Life Coaching Model. I am Heidi, and this podcast is for people who are willing to invest in their confidence, relationships, and well-being. Welcome. Welcome, y'all. I am so glad you're listening. I am so excited to launch this part of my life coaching practice because I know how valuable and easily accessible a great podcast can be. I love listening to my mentors and coaches teach and inspire me as I'm out and about in life. And I'm so glad I can reach so many people with this podcast and this method. I hope you'll join me each week as I share my thoughts and tips to live a happier life. I am a life coach trained through the Life Coach School, which is owned by Brooke Castillo, and I feel so lucky and blessed to have found a school that teaches and promotes an amazing coaching philosophy that matches up so closely with everything I believe and have used to make some pretty big changes in my life. And I plan to share a lot of that with you in episodes in this podcast. I want to take this first episode to give you a detailed explanation of the coaching tool developed by Brooke Castillo and used by all coaches trained through the Life Coach School. We call it the model. And the premise of the model is that all of our feelings and how we show up in life are directly created by our thoughts about circumstances in our lives. And we are in complete control of our thoughts. But it takes time and practice to observe our brains and see how this is happening. So let's dive right in. The model starts with circumstances. That's the first line, the C line. And circumstances are the facts in the world about our life. They are neutral. They can be proven in a court of law. Circumstances do not include emotion or drama or opinions. They include things that have happened to us in the past. Examples of circumstances are the weather, the president of our country, how many children you have, whether you're married or not, the words someone says to you, the number on the scale when you weigh yourself in the morning. It's just a circumstance. Your bank account balance, that balance is just a number. These are all circumstances. And this is the only part of the model that is not in our control. The next part of the model is our thoughts, the T line. Our thoughts are what we think about these circumstances. They are how we interpret the world, and they can be very helpful because we all see the world through very different filters or brain lenses, sometimes they say, and we all make circumstances mean something different. And these different thoughts allow us all to be unique and different, which is good. Many thoughts help us to achieve more in life and have the personalities that we have. Our thoughts can bring positive emotions into our lives, or they can also create negative emotions. And some thoughts can cause us unnecessary suffering and pain, and they cause us to show up in life in ways that do not serve us. Maybe with less confidence or even with anger. One of my biggest coaching activities is helping clients separate out their thoughts from the basic facts of a situation and become clear on the circumstances in their lives. So let's go through a few examples of separating the two. Last Sunday night, we got a big snowstorm that dropped over a foot of snow all night and into the morning commute, and we knew it was coming on Sunday. On Sunday, my children were very happy because they interpreted this snowstorm to mean they'd have no school on Monday and they could sleep in. But my husband, on the other hand, was anxious and stressed because he knew that he had a very important meeting Monday morning that he could not miss, and he would need to snowplow some of the driveway to get out and drive to work, even while the snowstorm was ending. So they had two very different interpretations of the weather, but the weather was neutral. It just was what it was. You can see a certain number on the scale when you weigh yourself in the morning. or anytime whenever you weigh yourself. And that number means absolutely nothing until you attach meaning to it. What does that number mean? A higher number than yesterday means something different if you want to lose fat. But if you're a weightlifter, you might see that as evidence that you're gaining muscle. So it's really just a neutral data point. Another more extreme circumstance that people ask me about is how in the world is death neutral? And death really is neutral. Someone dying is just a circumstance. It's not positive or negative until you think a thought about it. You may have different thoughts about your 99-year-old neighbor who is in a coma for months dying than you would about maybe a young father of 3 being killed in a car crash. A few years ago, the news announced that Osama bin Laden, who was the mastermind of the 9/11 tragedy, had been killed. And most people in the world had different thoughts about his death than most other deaths that had happened at the same time, because we interpreted that death in a different way based on our thoughts and perspectives. Here's another example from my life. I had a miscarriage between my second and third children. I was 12 weeks into the pregnancy. I had heard the heartbeat. I had seen the baby. So my husband and I were pretty sad when suddenly I miscarried the baby. And that emotion of grief and sadness was very healthy and it was very real. But within a few days, my thoughts transitioned to how blessed I was to have 2 healthy children already. I was pretty sure I could get pregnant easily again. So my thoughts and feelings were very different than if I hadn't had any children or had spent years and a fortune trying to get pregnant and then had a miscarriage. And this example takes me now to step number 3 in the model, the F line, our feelings. Our thoughts create our feelings. And let me just tell you, a feeling or an emotion is defined as a vibration in our body. That's it. Feelings cannot kill us. And we do so much in life to avoid feelings. We buffer, we numb, we overeat or overdrink or overexercise, or we avoid discomfort or avoid conversations. We spend so much energy avoiding negative feelings when really feelings are not as scary or powerful as we think they are. If we allow ourselves to process the feelings, acknowledge how it feels in our body, and then allow it to pass, we will realize negative feelings are not at all what we make them out to be. I remember the feelings of grief after that miscarriage being like a tightness in my chest, and there were other vibrations in my body, but they didn't stay forever and they didn't hurt me. And in this podcast, I'm going to tell you guys so much more about feelings and how we can process them. Fairly quickly after my miscarriage and the procedure in the hospital, my thoughts had moved to those of processing the loss and not being pregnant anymore, to thoughts of gratitude about my healthy family and my abundance. And honestly, I was kind of happy to not be pregnant with hormonal swings and morning sickness anymore. And so that brings us to the 4th part of the model, which is the action line, the A line, action. I like to think about this line as how we show up in life. This is where our thoughts and feelings reveal themselves to the outside world. So if after my miscarriage, I had held on to negative thoughts, such as, I wish I was pregnant, why did this happen to me, life is unfair, I might have started avoiding my friends who were pregnant then, I might not have showed love to my current family, I might not have started running to take care of myself. I love to show my own brain and clients an example of going into a room of strangers. And if you're able to go into a room of strangers, you can think thoughts such as, everyone likes me, I'm a great person, of course everyone here wants to meet me. We are then going to exude a positive energy. We're going to smile. We're going to have the confidence to make the first introductions to others in the room. And we're going to hold our head and our body in such a way that we're inviting to other people. But if our thoughts in our head are such as, I don't have many friends, I'm not as smart as everyone here, I hope somebody is nice to me, oh, I hate meeting strangers, then you're going to walk into the room and show up with body language that distances yourself from others and validates your thoughts and feelings. Maybe you'll stay in the corner with your arms folded, you won't make eye contact, and you might even leave. Some people think that they can hide negative thoughts that they have about other people, but I promise you that your thoughts always show up in the energy you bring to any situation, in your tone of voice, in your body language. Our actions are 100 times more effective when we operate from positive thoughts and feelings. That's when we can then create amazing results in our lives. Which takes us to the last and the fifth part of the model, the R line, which is our results. We are always going to find evidence of our thoughts here in our result line. Results are caused by our actions, which are fueled by our feelings. If we have a lot of friends, it's probably because we think we're friendly. And why wouldn't anyone want to be our friend? And so we then see that the size of our social network is evidence of our thoughts. Okay, here are a few things that I want you to remember as you start working through the model for problems in your lives. Focus on the thought line. You are going to be tempted to try to change the circumstance, or you're going to want to know how to act differently to get a different result. But at the beginning, stay focused on the thought line. This is the root cause of your problems, and you cannot make lasting change until you figure out what you're thinking and get curious. You're going to hear me talk a lot about getting curious about yourself and about others. So get curious about your thoughts. Why do you think something about yourself or about someone else? Why do you think your neighbor or your sister doesn't like you? Why do you think you aren't qualified to get the promotion at work? Why do you think you can't lose weight? Why do you think life is unfair? Get curious if those thoughts serve you and how you show up in life when you think them. Get curious about the positive thoughts too. Why do you cook dinner? What thoughts propel you to do this? Why do you go to church or go to the gym? Get curious. Another thing I want you to remember in this work is that we have absolutely no control over anyone else's thoughts, feelings, or actions. Someone else feels a certain way because of their thoughts, not your thoughts or feelings or actions. My coaching focuses on the thoughts, feelings, and actions of the person getting coached. We are not powerful enough to go into someone else's brain and change how they think and feel. But we do have the power to show up in every relationship with love and compassion. I want you to remember that you get to make your past mean what you want it to mean. You have the power to write the next chapters in your life book, and you get to decide how to interpret anything that has happened to you in the past. Will you look at it as events that have happened to you to get you to the place you are today? Or are you a victim? Do you see your past with understanding and compassion? How do you talk to yourself about your past experiences, perceived failures, or even your perceived successes? I don't want you to rush through this work and try to jump to your more positive or intentional model too quickly. I'd rather you spend some time getting curious and examining your current or unintentional model. Be aware of when you think certain thoughts. See what triggers your thoughts. Why do you choose those thoughts? Then, when you work on thinking new thoughts, they will become more permanent and be more believable. Also, when you do start, please note you could start writing out your model on any line. Sometimes at first, we can only identify our feelings, so write down how you're feeling in the F line. Then start writing down all your thoughts about the situation. This is called a thought download. Write down everything. Here you'll be able to see that it's your thoughts or what you're making the circumstance mean that's causing your feelings. If you would like a graphic of the model and blank worksheets where you can practice writing out current and desired models, please email me at Heidi@HeidiBenjaminson, that's with an SEN.com. And if you want to see how the model will work in a specific situation in your life, or maybe you just don't believe me that it can work with any problem, please email me or send me a message through Instagram or Facebook at Heidi Benjaminson Life Coach. We can set up a free mini session and then discuss more ways to continue coaching if that's of interest to you. I will be publishing new podcasts each week that explore different topics, and they will always at some point circle back here to the model and how changing your thoughts can ignite awesome changes in your life. Please subscribe to Hi, This is Heidi in iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. See y'all next week.